Welcome back to another episode of the Spa Business Mastery Podcast. My name is Delia, and look who I have right beside me in my home.
Not on the other side of the country.
Not on the other side of the country. It is Delia Week here in Ontario this year, and we've got Barky Stella behind us. And I've got Kirsten visiting me, and we get to do our podcast together.
Like literally the once a year that we can actually physically do our podcasting together. Otherwise, we're on one side of the country. I'm on one side of the country. Delia's on the other. And I mean, we make it work and we love working with each other, but this just makes it so much more enjoyable.
We've been having fun. We've got a couple of days left, but I want to dive into our podcast today because we know that slow season is coming for you spa owners, and we want to make sure that you're prepared for the season. So the podcast today is called From Frazzled to Flourishing, Spa Website Revival Tips for Time-Strapped Owners. And that would be you, dear spa owner, because we know that you have a lot on the go. And so today we want to talk about an important topic, and it's the rescue mission for your spa's website. And it's time to get prepared. We know that most spas find themselves scrambling during the fall to come up with marketing ideas because of the busy season throughout the summer, that we're just not thinking about looking forward, right?
Well, and a lot of times spas, like a lot of full service spas, are really busy this time of year. So like you're almost not even thinking about fall stuff, but like seriously, every September, first, second weekend, we see on Facebook groups,
crickets.
Everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, I'm really quiet. What do I do? And this happens every year.
Yes.
So just in case you're not kind of thinking about September, October, and if they're quiet, that's why we're bringing it up.
We're bringing it up to here. Yep. So we're bringing we're bringing attention to the seasonality of your spa. And we also know that, organic social media can be time consuming as far as like building and growing, and it's not an overnight success. But the part of that is, even if you're doing organic social media, we still want people going to your website, right? We want people converting from socials or wherever they're coming in from and heading to your website, because that's where all your offerings are. And that's where they're going to find out, really more about your business and what
in more detail
and what you have to offer. So
I feel like, a lot of times when it comes to a slower season, a lot of spa owners typically seem to go straight to their social media to try to generate more bookings. But like Delia said, organic social media, it's a long game, and it has to be super strategic.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been playing the long game and you haven't really been strategic, or not sure if you have been, then, it's kind of putting your eggs in one basket for your fall promotions or just, your communication. So what we want to make abundantly clear today is that your social media is a way to capture attention, but it's your website. Your website is the place where you really want to drive traffic to, because the website is what you own, and it's also what you can control. And you can control a lot of like your branding, your messaging, just all the magical things about your spa business. So we want to make sure that you get it, like you hear us, that if your website is not converting consumers into bookings, that is where the priority should be for you to kind of be working on your marketing.
Yeah. And we want to make sure that, because potential clients, that it's not like you're looking up in a phone book these days and just, finding the first one. People are looking at your competitors as well. So they're going to be searching, for different offers in their area. And you want to make sure that yours is standing out, because you need to be able to be working against the competition, right? Yeah. So if another spa is better on their website at storytelling, we talk a lot about storytelling as far as creating, our marketing messages and making sure that, your message is clear. But if another spa is doing that better, then they may win over the client.
Yeah. And it's not just about like the messaging is the words, but it's also the images. It's how it's laid out, and that we would consider that the strategy, how it's moving people to other parts of the website.
Yeah. All right. So what should you be assessing on your website right now? We want to dive into that so that you have a good little list of things that you want to consider. So first, what you want to do is you want to consider, when was it originally built? Was it professionally built or was it DIY? Totally fine. But if your website hasn't had an update or an upgrade in last couple of years, you're probably looking at it's time. You're probably going to say it's
and I think
time to do
that
it.
probably surprises a lot of spa owners because they think that, you know, it's up and good and maybe I'm good for 5 years, 7. No, like consumers can tell when a website is kind of on the older version, and 5 years in website terms is like ancient.
It's ancient. So this isn't spa related, but the other day I was looking on websites for something for Kirsten and I to do. And they're so old and clunky that I couldn't even click on the call button
on mobile.
I was on my mobile phone, was trying to call to book us an appointment, and it wouldn't even let me click on their phone number, and I couldn't see a phone number anywhere. So already I was frustrated, and
we want to buy, like we're ready.
Book. Yeah. So we found another website. All right. So the next thing you want to do is think about how often you update your content and images, because that's super important. If you've got outdated info and it's no longer relevant to what your offers are, it's probably time to update. We often see images that aren't even in relation to what you're offering.
Well, because I think sometimes some spas have, like, your website was done a while ago, and then you've added services, and maybe you've added those services, but haven't taken off the old one. So maybe you've niched into skin, but you still got like lashes and waxing on there, and it's affecting your business because people can still book those rather than the facials that you want to be doing.
Right.
So, you know, that's the kind of thing that we're meaning. Like, it just starts getting messy.
Especially if you're doing it yourself too, and you're kind of, you know, dropping and dragging things into, like, you're adding more stuff without it really considering maybe the consumer journey and how they would flow through your website. So it might actually be adding a little bit more barrier to your bookings, right? And the next one is, we want to make sure that your messaging. Yes, Stella has a very big message. She wants to make sure that your messaging is clear, easy to understand, and engaging. And what we mean by that is, you know, are you using big terminology that your clients wouldn't understand? We know you're experts, but we have to kind of spell it out for them in layman's terms. Yeah. And they want to know, you know, what are they going to get from it? So I know that, Kirsten, you're going to go into that a little bit more, but just make sure that your messaging is clear. It says exactly, you know, what it is they can expect, what you're offering. There's not a big, huge wall of text that's hard to get through.
Well, it's just kind of, people look at a wall of text and they get overwhelmed and they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. They don't read. I mean, I don't read. I glaze over big, long walls of text like that. So.
All right. So a couple more points here. The kind of images that you're using. I know that having professional photography can be an investment. I just did mine this spring and summer, but it just makes a huge difference for the consumer in building trust. So my point here is, if you've got primarily stock images on your website to portray what you're doing, it's really general. There's lots of other spas all over North America using the same kind of imagery. It just kind of bland, and we don't recommend. Like, you can for sure use some stock images, but don't use the whole thing. Right. So when you can, put some money away for some pro photography to at least get a bit of that in there. Yeah. The other thing I find, I'm talking about communication here. You know, what we see in service descriptions and website copy is a lot of what it is, you know, like it's an anti-aging facial,
right?
And it'll say, you know, enzyme, it's more like, it'll say like, enzyme peel, blah, blah, blah. Like, it'll say what it does, but it's not really clear about the results,
the outcomes,
which leads me to my next point. Stop using revitalized, revived, you know, rejuvenated.
We don't use the P word around here.
No P words.
No P words.
No pamper P words.
No pamper P words.
And the reason why we don't want to say rejuvenated, those are like buzzwords that have been done to death in this industry for like, well, a couple of decades for sure now. So we need to be speaking exactly the exact result, which is happening. Okay?
And that's what consumers are looking for. They don't want the fluffy stuff anymore. Gone are the days of, those.
Well, they're too savvy.
Yeah, they're too
so
savvy.
You can't kind of gloss over with these buzzwords and rejuvenated, revitalized, and definitely do not use the word pampered.
Yeah.
And the reason why with pampering is an option.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're hearing a lot in, the economy where, people are struggling and they're going to let go of the stuff that is optional. So, if you're a skin therapist, especially, don't include the word pampering in there because it's devaluing your service.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
I've got one more little point here is the technical functionality of your website. So it just needs to be streamlined. Some platforms have better feature than others. Like, I know Wix is an easy website to get started on. It's like it's drag and drop, but once you've grown, either outsource that to a Wix specialist who can make it look really good, or it might be time to switch platforms, which I've done myself. I went from Squarespace to Kajabi, and it was a bit of a beast, but man, I was really glad that I did it.
Yeah, you're just able to.
I can do more. I have more functionality with my new website than I did with Squarespace. And I think Squarespace is fantastic for spas, but for my coaching business, it was limited.
Yeah, just had other features on there that you needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Alrighty. So if, as Kristen just said, if you've got a website that you're needing to redo and you have a web developer, maybe working with. Stella hears us talking and she thinks that she's protecting us. So, so if you are looking for, we know we just gave you a big list here, and we understand that a lot of spa owners, you're just too busy and you don't have the mental bandwidth to even jump into a project like this. And you're already too behind to be able to tackle these improvements and at the speed that they need to happen, because we're in real time and things need to be updated.
Yeah. And so like we've given you a little list, literally a to-do list.
Yeah.
And ideally it would be actioned out in August.
Yeah.
So that when September slows down for you at the spa, your website's actually your assistant for you and actually
exactly.
Working. Yeah.
So if you are working with a web designer, then what we do recommend is that you book a call with them and go through your website, go through the list that we just gave you, assess your relevance of it, and discuss any necessary changes with your web developer. But for those who don't have a web designer,
well, then you need to get a hold of Delia, because this is Delia's specialty. She is so creative. She's got a really fantastic creative eye, which is actually why I reached out to her. I don't know if any of you know, but Delia and I met. I was her coach, her business coach. And when we finished coaching, I just felt like we would be, our time together wasn't done.
She wrote me a nice little card and mailed it to me. And it said, thank you for allowing me to be your coach. Yeah. And I look forward to working with you again in whatever capacity that means. And I kept it because I knew something was going to happen.
Yeah. So I hired Delia because I actually loved her social media feed for her spa business. And I was looking for a social media manager that had a design eye and understood spa. And so Delia was fantastic at that. And she since has grown exponentially in her design and like what you're doing with design. And I just love what you're doing with websites. She does my website. We've done many spa clients websites for them and the strategy. And so, reach out to Delia. It's delia@kirstenfoss.com. And she'll send you a link to set up a discovery call and just take a look at your site. She'll give you a little quick assessment and give you a timeline for when she can fit it in her schedule.
All right, awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing from all you spa owners. And hopefully that this episode was helpful for you today. And I think that wraps it up for us today. And remember, your website is your digital storefront. I think that that's really, really important to remember. And investing time and effort into it is not going to disappoint. It will yield you greater results. And so again, reach out to us if you need any support. And we look forward to seeing you at our next podcast with Kirsten.
That's for a spot for it'll be like a business leadership topic. So we'll see you then.
We'll see you then. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.